welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Right back at it again with another Premier League preview show, previewing another round of fixtures coming up this weekend, and also a special one into the mix as well. There is of course an extra rearranged fixture that I'm going to throw in here as well, that is taking place tonight as of obviously the time of recording. The Premier League season is just about entering its midway point. We've still a couple of weeks left from entering the midway point of the season, but everything is still beginning to take shape as we head further into the season, following obviously the resumption of this campaign that was obviously broken up by the World Cup. Before we go into all of that though, before we get into the fixtures and the predictions and everything else in between, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. For now, let's get into the predictions. Like I said, we're going to start things off with tonight's game. It is a rearranged fixture. It is Fulham against Chelsea. Big London derby, this big London clash at Craven Cottage. Fulham, of course, going strong in this league. Very much surprising a lot of people, including myself, as to how well they would do in this league, how far they would go, and everything. And I've been kind of expecting Fulham to kind of drop off a little bit as the seasons wore on, but there don't appear to be many signs that that will happen. Alexander Mitrovic is still going strong, scoring plenty of goals, whilst their opponents, Chelsea, well, they're still finding their feet under Graham Potter, let's put it that way. It's not been a great couple of weeks for Chelsea, not even been a great time for Chelsea since obviously resuming the Premier League following the World Cup, and this could be a very tough fixture for them. Craven Cottage on a Thursday night is going to be loud, it's going to be hostile for Chelsea. Like I say, it's a big London derby, and I actually think that with the way that both teams are currently playing, Fulham may fancy their chances of getting all 3 points in this game. And although I could see a draw happening, I'm going to go with a bit more of a surprising result. I'm going to say that Fulham come out of this with the points and say that the home side win this by 2-1. On to Friday night's game, and we've got Aston Villa taking on Leeds at Villa Park. Unai Emery against Jesse Marsch. Interesting battle this one between these two sides. Two sides that on their day can be very good, and yet on their off day can be very bad. It really depends what kind of side turns up for either side in this one, which makes it very difficult to predict. You've got Aston Villa in need of the points and still finding their feet under their new manager in Unai Emery. You've got Leeds and Jesse Marsch, who can look very good and then also can be pretty terrible at times. And it really, like I say, it makes for a very difficult game to predict. I'm going to call it down the middle though. I've got no real way of saying this, that this could genuinely go any which way, but I'm going to call it down the middle, and I'm going to say that this game will end 1-1 come the final whistle. Next up, massive Manchester derby this one. In any other circumstances, this would be the highlight of this round of fixtures, but there is another game that I believe to be bigger than this one. But this one is a massive Manchester derby at that. Manchester United taking on Manchester City at Old Trafford. This is going to be interesting because you've got Manchester United right now who are on fire. They're on form. They've got probably one of the most informed players in the Premier League right now in Marcus Rashford, scoring plenty of goals, and he does like a goal against Manchester City, so if you are a betting person, maybe that wouldn't be a bad bet to place this weekend on this game. Rashford's on fire, United are on fire, they're looking very good right now. They're starting to really take shape under Ten Hag with each passing game. And of course you've got a Manchester City side that are still looking to try and chase down Arsenal, but they're just not quite looking their fully formed selves that we have seen in previous years. And although of course they do have the ever dangerous Erling Haaland up front, you wouldn't back against United getting something from this game. It is at home for them, it is at Old Trafford, they are on form of United. This one could be very interesting as far as the Premier League title race could possibly go. Of course, Arsenal do have the potential of stretching their lead or having it cut down. Anything could definitely happen in this game, and of course the Arsenal game, which I will talk about later. But I think United will fancy their chances of getting something from this game. It's not going to be plain sailing for either of them, by any means. Definitely not plain sailing for any of them by any means. This is going to be this is definitely going to be a much different game, I believe, to the one that we saw earlier in the season between these two, where City absolutely smashed it, winning 6-3 on that day. So with that being said, City obviously probably go into it just as the favourites, but I'm going to go with a draw instead. I'm going to say that this game will end 2-2 come the final whistle. Simply for the reason that United are at home. They are riding a confidence wave right now. They have a bit of form behind them, and of course Marcus Rashford is doing it very well right now. City of course have Haaland, but I still think United may get something from this game. Next up at the Amex Stadium, it is Brighton taking on Liverpool. It is the Seagulls against the Reds. It is a game that I hope and I pray Liverpool win and get the 3 points, but it's going to be tough. Brighton may have only won once at home under their new manager, but Liverpool away from home have been poor all season. They're not on a great run right now, Liverpool. They haven't been great since the return of domestic football. And of course, they'll be looking to bounce back from that dreadful 3-1 defeat against Brentford. This is going to be tough for the Reds. No doubt about it. This is going to be an extremely tough game for the Reds. It's going to be tough for Brighton as well at times. They've still got various threats from Liverpool to watch out for, the notorious ones, and Mohamed Salah, of course. Darwin Núñez is Captain Chaos, as he seems to have adopted that sort of tagline. But this is going to be tough for both sides, and although I look at Liverpool and I want Liverpool to win and everything, they need to really book up their ideas if they still want to try and make a top 4 challenge. Not going to be easy by any means. Brighton are a very good side. Brighton are still very strong. They're solid defensively. They are very good going forward on their day. I think they'll fancy their chances against the Liverpool side because of obviously the amount of space that Liverpool allow the opposition to counter with, and I think that might play into Brighton's hands a little bit, especially being at home. I think it will also help Brighton as well, and that's why I can see a game in which we might have a similar one-to-one that happened earlier this season, where both teams played out a 3-3 draw in this one. I can see something similar happening. I don't think it will be exactly 3-3, but I am going to go for a draw, and I'm going to say that this game will end 2-2 come the final whistle. So we move to Goodison Park. It is Everton against Southampton. Big game in prospect, this one. You've got Everton that are in need of the points, in need of moving up the table somewhat, and you've got a Southampton side that are rock bottom of the table but might be flying a little bit higher with confidence, having obviously knocked out Manchester City in the Carabao Cup earlier this week. Big game for both sides in need of the points, both sides in need of some sort of confidence boost to go into the rest of the season with. It's a massive, almost 6-pointer if you like. I know it's a bit of a cliche to say, but this genuinely is. Southampton on a winless run, stretching back God knows how long. You've got Everton that are in need of points just all together, just to kind of put a little bit of distance more between themselves and the relegation zone. Big game. Everton at home can be solid. Everton at home can be difficult to beat at times. We know that. Southampton, of course, can spring surprises on big teams, and obviously against the teams that are in and around them. In this case, Everton, they do tend to slip up from time to time. Could be a big game. Could go any which way again. But I'm going to go for another draw, and I'm going to say that this game will end 1-1. The final whistle. So we move to Nottingham in the City Ground for a Midlands clash between Nottingham Forest and Leicester. Two teams that are again in need of points. Forest in need of points as they are in and around the relegation zone. You've got Leicester though that are looking to kind of break out of their poor start to the season and continue on an upwards projection. Again, it's another big game. It's another massive game. We know that Forest at home are very strong. We know that Forest at home are very good. They normally they feed off the energy of the crowd, and that really does help them from time to time, and it has done throughout this season. picked up a very good win last time out against Southampton. Big game, and obviously they are through to the Carabao Cup semi-final from earlier this week. So they are riding a bit more of a confidence wave over the past couple of results or so. Leicester, on the other hand, we know how dangerous they can be. We know that they can turn it on when obviously they want to, and they have the players and the ability and the talent to do that, and to obviously hurt opposition defences. I just think that maybe with the Forest crowd being at home at the City grounds, the Forest players seemingly gelling a little bit more than they were earlier on in the season, I actually suspect Forest will get a good result here, and that is why I'm going to go for a 2-1 win in favour of Nottingham Forest. Next up, we've got Wolves against West Ham, two teams in need of points yet again. Wolves, the lowest scorers in the division. West Ham looking to kind of relieve a little bit of pressure on David Moyes. It's going to be very interesting to see what his future where his future lies if obviously results don't pick up. They've got a very good opportunity against this Wolves side to start doing that, but it is going to be tough. It is going to be tough because obviously West Ham have not been at the races completely this season. Neither have Wolves, but Wolves, again, still have that spark in them that they can occasionally come out with a good performance here and there. It's just about scoring goals for Wolves. If they can find some sort of consistency in front of goal, I think Wolves might be okay and might survive, but we'll have to wait and see on that. As far as this game goes, again, could go any which way. It's going to be tough. West Ham probably go into it as partial favourites, but that's not saying much considering how both teams have performed this season so far. So therefore, I'm going to go with a draw. Again, I'm going to say this game will end 1-1. Next up, Saturday night's fixture. It is Brentford at home under the lights against Bournemouth, and I for one fear for Bournemouth. Brentford at home are very tough. We've seen that constantly throughout this season. We saw that last time out when they beat Liverpool at home 3-1. This is going to be very tough for Bournemouth, and I think Brentford will come out of this as the winners with all 3 points and add that to their total for this season. I think it's going to be another good performance from Brentford. I think it's going to be another strong one, and that is why I can only see one winner in this, and that is going to be Brentford, and that's why I'm going to go for a 2-0 Brentford win. Sunday's games, and it's Chelsea once again in action. They're at home this time at Stamford Bridge against Crystal Palace. Patrick Vieira will want to get one over on an old enemy of his, that's for sure. But again, he is another manager that's seemingly facing a little bit of pressure after having several results not exactly go his way. He comes up against a Chelsea side that of course will be playing on Thursday night, so all the extra minutes in the legs of those Chelsea players play a factor in fatigue coming into this one. It could be something that Crystal Palace might look to take advantage of. It could be very interesting in that aspect. It could be very interesting in terms of the aspect of however the game plays out on Thursday night, and of course obviously Palace are in need of a win as well. So there's a lot of factors and a lot of layers to this game, and it could be very intriguing as to find out which way this game will go. Tough game to call yet again. You can make the argument for Chelsea. They do have match winners and a lot of talent on their day in that squad. You've also got Palace that are a very good squad, like to get the ball down and play some nice football. But do they have enough about them to go on and win this game? I for one don't exactly think so, but I think it's going to be a tough game nonetheless, and I can see Palace coming out of this one with a point, which is why I am going to say that this game will end 1-1 come the final whistle. Next up, Fulham again in action. They travel away to Newcastle on Sunday. Again, another tough game to call. You've got Newcastle flying high in the top 4. Potential top 4 contenders, potentially in the Champions League for next season. You've got Fulham going strong. But again, I do have to ask, will the extra minutes in the legs of those Fulham players from their game on Thursday night play a factor here? You've got Newcastle with the best defensive record in the Premier League so far this season. They are scoring a few goals as well. Do they have enough about them to go on and make top 4 their own? And in this game, do they have enough about them to put this Fulham side away. Going to be very interesting to find out as well, because Newcastle have only lost once this season, and that was to Liverpool very early on in the campaign. So it's going to be very intriguing to find out how far this Newcastle side can go. And of course, Newcastle themselves are in action earlier this week in the Carabao Cup, securing their place in the semi-final. So it's not exactly like it's a foregone conclusion either. As far as a result or a prediction goes, look, Fulham are very tough. Fulham are very, very tough. We know that. Fulham are a strong, physical, direct side. They've got Alexander Mitrovic on fire this season, but Newcastle have their own man in form, and that is Miguel Almiron. And we'll see, obviously, how that continues to play out as the season goes on. We know that they've got a strong defence. It'll be very interesting to watch this game. I think this one could go a little bit under the radar because of obviously the other couple of games that we've got going on that are going to be much bigger than this one, with all due respect. But I am going to go for a Newcastle win. I do think that Newcastle have enough about them to put this Fulham side away, and that is why I'm going to go with a 2-1 win in favour of Eddie Howe's side. Finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the biggest main event of this round of fixtures, the biggest game coming up this weekend, it is a massive North London derby. It is Tottenham against Arsenal. It is Antonio Conte against Mikel Arteta. It is top of the table Arsenal against top 4 chasing Spurs. It is going to be a big one, this one. It's going to be a massive game. It is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is not a notorious ground in recent years for Arsenal to go winning on. It's often a pretty tough game. Usually Arsenal do win their home game and Tottenham win their home game, and that is obviously what's happened so far this season. One of those obviously predictions has come true. Arsenal did win the reverse fixture of this earlier on in the campaign, and now it's up to see if Spurs can put a little bit of a dent, or not so much a dent because of how the points are in Arsenal's favour at the top of the table, but just to give them a little bit of a wobble going forward. And it'll be interesting to see if that adds a little bit of extra incentive into Tottenham's game plan and how they approach this game on Sunday. You've of course got a Tottenham side that have been pretty underwhelming this season. Yes, they are 5th. Yes, they are going okay. But I think a lot of people were expecting more from Tottenham. I think a lot of people were expecting them to be a bit more convincing, shall we say, when on the football pitch, and they've not really had that, barring the odd few games here and there. You've got an Arsenal side that are going from strength to strength, growing in confidence in terms of their fans starting to kind of believe that maybe something spectacular will happen this season, and maybe they can once again take their place at the top of the English Football League and actually win the Premier League title yet again, which could be very interesting to obviously watch unfold as the season progresses. Look, as far as this game goes though, you've got the extra incentive of Tottenham wanting to put a bit of a wobble and a bit of a spanner in the works of Arsenal. You've got Arsenal wanting to maintain their strong performances this season in the Premier League, in which they've only lost once in the league, and obviously wanting to try and maintain their points hold over Manchester City, and of course take all the bragging rights over their fellow rivals, leave them in the mud and everything, along with obviously this fierce rivalry that goes on between these two. And looking at it, even though it is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I know that obviously form goes out the window in derbies and all that kind of cliche and everything, but when you look at but you have to consider form a little bit, and you have to obviously consider history as well a little bit. History says that Spurs will do well in this game. Form says that Arsenal will do well. They could cancel each other out, and that's not an entirely bad result for Arsenal by any means. But at the same time, I just think with the way that Arsenal are playing right now, if they can maintain it in this game, they will definitely take the 3 points. And like I say, Spurs have been far from convincing this season. It would be typical if they could turn up for this game, but I think Arsenal might just have enough about them defensively to stop the likes of Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, And also going forward, I think with the form that Martinelli is in, I think with the form that Eddie Nketiah is in, which is a little bit more surprising to me at least, because I didn't really back the guy, didn't really rate the guy, but he seems to be in very good form right now. I think Arsenal will get the job done, get the 3 points and maintain their stance, and obviously have the potential to obviously stretch their lead at the top of the table depending on how other results go, with a win in this game. And that is why I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory in favour of Mikel Arteta's side. Of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, most of all, of course, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the games that are coming up this weekend, and what do you think are going to be the results and the outcomes of each and every Premier League game to come up in this round of fixtures? Let me know down below in the comment section, because I'm sure all your predictions will make for interesting reading. Otherwise, also fantasy football managers, who do you see having a good week, who do you see having a bad week, who are you putting into your teams, who are you taking out of your teams? That could make for interesting reading as well. But most of all, of course, this is a prediction show, so I'd love to know your predictions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way up, enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new, want to see more content like this. Both things always greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you all again soon in another video.